Welcome to another episode of RockMine. I'm Detroit Bob, I'm your host, and we're going to go through this box. But first, we're going to go through what you have to wade through to get a gem. Why? Because in this box is my first triple F, my four-figure find. That's a 45 worth over $1,000. Now, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't easy to find, and when you're digging, it's like metal detecting. You can't see at the bottom of these Goodwill bins. They're just covered with junk. But for the persistent diver record collector, gold and gem are waiting. And gems are very few and far between. So you got to be patient. You got to wade through a lot of junk. And in this box, I'm going to show you what you typically find, what you find on a lucky day, and what you find on a really lucky day. I barely touched on it a couple episodes because it came in at the 11th hour. But this is perfect, this episode, because I'm going to show you what I had to dig through to get this box over the last 5 to 7 trips. Stay tuned. I'm going to pull it up. We're going to do a triple F up close and personal for the first time on RockMine. See you at the end of the episode. When I first started collecting vinyl again, when COVID hit, I was like, how do I do this? And there were no more record stores left. I used to play a place called Hagwish Records in the region. That was long gone. Then I went down to CD Trading Post. That was long gone. So I was left with Walmart. The thing about Walmart is low prices. But sometimes with those low prices, you get low quality. Like any other big box store, you got to find your way through the front door and navigate your way back into the electronics section. And yeah, we got fireworks, 4th of July coming up. So, see what we got down here. It's all pretty cool. Charcoal for the barbecue grill, pool cleaners, barbecues. Where are the records? I know they're back here. So you got to walk a little ways. I know I'm getting close because I'm in electronics and photo. Let's try down here. All right, we got big screen televisions. We're back in the corner. Magazines and vinyl stuck in the corner. So right off the bat, we see these Walmart exclusives. Now those are usually vinyl of a different color. And that might be something you're interested in. I'm not seeing anything that's jumping off at me or jumping out at me. Boy, Target's looks a little bit better. This is a great album. We saw that at Target. There is some attempt at alphabetizing these. I guess you got to go and see if they even have a Beatles album. So Barbie, you know, West Side Story, Bruno Mars, seems very pop oriented. Billie Eilish, Metallica, okay. Limited edition Red Violet. Wow. Not one Beatles album. So there's the CDs down below. And, you know, you can get a close and play record player. And it looks like a little Bluetooth. I don't even know what brand that is. So, Audio-Technica, that's not a bad starter. But I'm not really impressed. I think the vinyl section has shrunk since I was here last. So, there's no, are you kidding me? There's not one 7-inch to be found. About 8 Victrola, Crosley record players, a couple Audio-Technica, a storage stand. So I'm not really impressed. I don't know what else to say. You know, okay, that's a good album, but you know, just not really impressed. Oh well. All right, so much for Walmart. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't find an album that I would even want to buy. So that answers that question. All right, another one is Best Buy. And Best Buy used to always have CDs in the 90s. And they got rid of the LPs and then they brought them back. So, there we go. Let's check it out. Best Buy, go in the entrance. You gotta wade your way through to the vinyl. It's back here. I've been in here before. It's pretty easy to find. It's not too busy today. It's Monday. So I was over here somewhere. You know, everything's cell phone. Now you're getting into the headphones. And they had a small vinyl section, but last time I was here, it wasn't too bad. I mean, they're pretty damn small. Okay, so I guess we'll give it the same test, right? Okay, good album there. Bruce Springsteen, Hammersmith Odeon. Okay, they got a Rubber Soul Beatles. They got Let It Be by the Beatles. They have Abbey Road by the Beatles. And they got Revolver. So for that right there, and a Creedence Willie and the Poor Boys. Everybody knows that song, but that's a good album. Changes One, that's probably if you don't have a David Bowie album, start with that. That would be a good something to whet your appetite. Willie and the Poor Boy is the big hit off this. 27 for that. Creedence just got the rights to their music back, so that's pretty interesting. Okay, there's a 2 LP set, Alabama Shakes. And what else we got? Pretty thin, Ed Sheeran, Franz Ferdinand, Foo Fighters, Flogging Molly. Well, we're getting there. I'm gonna just do a whole flip through. Better yet, David Bowie, this would be the one single album, if you only bought one, that you would want to have in your collection. From beginning to end, it just plays like almost like it was meant to be together. David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders of Mars. Misfiled under J or K or something like that. Green Day, Johnny Cash songwriter. Previous unreleased recording from '93. I'd have to look at that because I really like the stuff he did with Rick Rubin. Lana Del Rey, I heard she's good. Haven't really listened to much of her stuff. McCartney 3, a lot of hype, but this is... Some people say Animals is better than Dark Side of the Moon. I really loved Animals. This is the 2018 remix. Boy, that might be interesting. It almost looks like it turned into a double LP. 180 gram vinyl. That's heavy. That's a heavy album. All right, so I would say smaller than Walmart, but better selections. Scorpions always had these insane covers. Who's that? I think I saw that last time I was in here. It almost looks like Leon Bridges, but it's not. Sinatra's Greatest. All right. Nirvana, the famous LP that broke them, and the whole grunge scene. Came out, what, about 93? Velvet Revolver, saw these guys. And they were great live. Slash and the lead singer is Stone Temple Pilots, and they got a few LP record players, a little bit more on the record player end. Very cool. All right, so that's about it for Best Buy. A small but I would say respectable record section. But man, what happened to the days of the record store? These big box places just don't cut it. All right, so we hit Walmart, we hit Best Buy, but this is another option, the Goodwill. And I'm here in Gary, Indiana. I've been in here several times. We've filmed in here before. Let's check it out. We got new carts. These things are brand new, and this is an upgrade. So it's an outlet, and basically every hour, hour and a half, a bunch of new trucks come in and just dump their stuff in these tubs. So it's crazy. It's not organized. I do a quick scan first, and then I do a micro scan second. I've never come out of here empty-handed. And last time I was in here, that's where I found a stack of dusty old 45s. I went through them. They were terrible condition, but I picked out 6, and one of them was Psychedelic Frankie, which was a $2,000 45. Let's see what we can find today. Wish me luck. Now, this is not for the faint of heart. Everything in here goes for $1.59 a pound. And like I said, there is junk, but there's some good stuff in here if you're willing to dig. Old stereo speakers. Who knows if they work? $1.59 a pound. CDs, $1.59 a pound. Yeah, well, look at that. Sometimes the CD is not in it though. Django Reinhardt, that's a good pickup on a CD. Yeah, I'll do a quick condition check. That's real clean. I'll enjoy listening to that. Again, $1.59 a pound. This tub produced 2 decent CDs, Django Reinhardt and a Till Tuesday. So I'm going to give it a little more time. I'm going to give it a little digging. But it looks like it's been pretty well picked over. You never know. These will be taken away and a new set will be rolled out any minute. All right. I thought this was a religious album, but this is actually an album by one of my favorite Australian bands, The Church. Once again, $1.59 a pound. Condition check. Oh yeah, that's a listener. Oh, in this one tub. So, I don't know what the math is. What's this? Ry Cooder. He played at the Stones. I'm picking that up. Oh, Peter Gabriel. I think that's the greatest hits. So while I'm working on my 45s, I listen to CDs. Don't tell anybody. But for $1.59 a pound, which comes back about 25 cents a piece, it's worth it. All right, I'm on a little bit of a roll. So a little bit of a lesser known U2 offering, Zootropa. I think that's where they won Best New Alternative. A little scratched up, but it'll play. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those CDs came out of one tub. No 45s to be seen. Now, do you buy a CD without the cover? Yeah, I sometimes do. What you're doing, I don't plan to resell these CDs, but if I'm on a roll entering Patty Griffin, if I'm on a roll entering data into Discogs, well, look at that. I found the cover. So there you go. All I got to do is replace that broken part. The cover now has been reunited with the CD. Coldplay, probably their best CD, and I don't have it. So far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 CDs. All right. That might actually be good. Jose Feliciano. All in Spanish. Up. Why? Because it's $1.59 a pound. So this tub has got a lot of Latin music in it, which I'd go for some Latin jazz. George Jones is just an American icon. That's definitely worth picking up. Did anybody mention cassettes? $1.59 a pound. This. I'll pass on that one. I'll pass on Richard. Okay, here's a Sony. Looks like a subwoofer. $1.59 a pound. What's this? I'll pass on that. Is to get into a good bin. Realistic. That used to be a pretty popular electronics store. You want to get into a bin that just has a spill of LPs or 45s. Detecting, we call it a coin spill. This feels light, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's in there. I like Wayland, so I'm going to pick that up. Some oddball stuff. I'm going to pass on Eddie, but there it is in cassette. These country collaborations, compilations, I usually pass on unless they just jump out at you. I mean, that's a good little cassette right there. Patsy Cline's Greatest Hits. Tanya Tucker. Not a big fan of hers, but somebody is. Okay, it's sort of funny because, like, this is a country. Randy Tavis. This tub has a spill of country cassettes and CDs. Jimmy Durante. There you go. Willie Nelson. The Hungry Years. On cassette. Why? Because it's $1.59 a pound. Nothing better than the Pretty Woman soundtrack. All right, these guys actually do a lot in the community. They're actually providing jobs for a lot of people. Probably gonna lose money on something like that, but Scott used to be really good speakers. And there's the twin over there. They look a little moldy, probably had some water damage. $1.59 a pound, probably wouldn't pick that up. Try to preview everything before I leave the store, just to make sure everything's in good shape. John Conley, I used to listen to country music one summer with a guy I worked with, and John Conley was a big favorite. That was 82, same with George Jones. If you'd ever, there's a good George Jones biopic on one of the major cable networks. All right, a little dirty, but with surface dirt. Just need a new jewel case for that one. Well, U2 don't have it. I used to have this. But Rod Cooter, I'll pick up anything he's on. Looks interesting. Afro Cooter compilation collaboration. The Church, I love them. 94 released. A little bit after their prime probably, but I got to get caught up on them. Django, if you ever hear him play guitar, you'll understand why I'm getting that one. And Till Tuesday. Nelson and the Patsy Cline Greatest Hits. All right, so then you go over to the bagging station and you can also check out. All right, so that's the Goodwill. Detroit Bob, back at you. We went to Walmart, we went to Best Buy, we went to Goodwill, and all I got was a bunch of CDs and a couple cassette tapes. But wait, let me show you what I found over the last 7 to 10 trips. Going to the Goodwill is sort of like metal detecting. At least the one I go to. They bring everything out in trays. By the way, I'm laid up. I'm laying flat on my back. Little L5 S1 nerve root compression. I've already had it manipulated on a gentle Cox Technique table. So I'm feeling about 50% better, but I got to get ready for more record digging. Matter of fact, that 15 degrees that you bend over those record bins, that's the killer. It's not lifting the thing as much as it is that sustained hour or two where you're like just tilted about 15, 20 degrees at the waist. So yeah, it's an occupational hazard. But anyways, I've got in here what I typically find at Goodwill. And I'm going to go through the junk along with this interesting piece here and my first Triple F, which I'll give you a quick peek there. That's my first 4-figure record that I found. Now, you just like metal detecting, and I came to this hobby from metal detecting.
So in metal detecting, we keep everything. And even if it's a piece of sharp wire, we keep it until we throw it away in the trash. So remember, a good record is one that plays without skipping. So in my book, that would be like a good coin. So right here, I don't care that it's King Tut by Steve Martin. Does it play? Yeah. Without skipping? Yeah. Then it's got value, because what is a record's value? It can play without skipping, and you can hear the music. What is a coin's value? Well, a silver coin has an inherent value of silver, but a 5-cent coin has 5 cents worth of value. Now, the beauty of pulling old silver coins is that it's got metal value. You could melt it down. But I guarantee you, those guys that are finding 5-cent silver coins or dimes or quarters or half dollars or dollars are not melting them down, even though they're in good condition. Now, eventually, all of these are going to be thrown away. There will be no finding 45s in the wild anymore, but we're not there yet. So they only came out in 1949, so we are still at the stage where these are readily findable. Okay, when I first started collecting coins, probably 1969, you could find all your pennies were copper, and you could find what they call wheatbacks, and you could still find silver coins in regular circulation. Not anymore, very rarely. So we are still in the glorious age where we can find 45s. So we're going to go through these. By the way, this platter pack was interesting too. I found this with the lid wide open, and this was one of the spills. And I call that like a coin spill is where somebody goes to the beach and a bunch of coins fall out of their pocket into the sand, and you get about 10 hits. What I call a record spill is where you go to a Goodwill and a platter pack was dumped in there and the contents just spilled out and are splattered all over the bottom of the bin. Okay, and you're the first guy on the scene. So I found this. Now, one thing interesting, platter packs you see a lot, but this is an interesting one too. It doesn't have the bright decor. It's sort of dark brown, and it's in very good shape. So when you find these, the hinges are usually busted off, and it's got a bunch of bright psychedelic squirrels or checker mark. That ends, those were the ones the teenagers owned. But this one, maybe an adult owned it. So I did find within the vicinity of this, like a coin spill at the beach, I found about 6 to 10 45s, which were contemporaneous with the gem right here, which I've featured before. But look at the 6 cents stamp on it. I haven't made out a date yet, but it's an old, I'll show it to you in a minute. But let's go through these one by one so you can see what I typically get. You're going to just say, you guys are serious collectors. You're going to say, why did you buy these? Well, a couple reasons. Let's set that back a little bit. It was just a stack, and when you have someone hovering over your shoulder waiting to grab what you're looking at, you grab first and then you sift through it later. So, you're talking B.J. Thomas, Rock and Roll Lullaby. There's just junk written all over the label. Scepter Records. I'm not going to look this up on Discogs yet, but I am going to enter it and list it for sale. It's probably a good. It's all scratched up. Are we losing touch? I got so many B.J. Thomas records, I can't even shake a stick at them. I mean, it's crazy. So that's just, if I bring it home, I enter it into Discogs. Now, I might learn something because I might learn something about the Scepter record label. I might learn something about the artist. Going through the exercise of entering it into Discogs to me has value because I learned something about the record, the record's artist, maybe the producer, maybe the writer, maybe the pressing plant, okay? And so next time I come across Scepter or BJ Thomas or this exact same record, I'm going to know more. It could be a rare record. We don't know yet, because disguised amongst common records are rare records. Okay, so there's one. I sold good records on Discogs? Absolutely. What I do on Discogs, I just have fixed shipping. So you can order up to 12 records for in the same shipping, $6.99 in the continental U.S. So that's pretty cool there, because I've seen a lot of people order like a bunch of goods and very goods and good pluses and get 12 of them, and for $20 they get a bunch of records. So this usually lists for anywhere from 69 cents to $3 or $4. And I'm just guessing. Some of them are going to be $5 in there, even in this condition. You have to, Discogs makes you rate your, another thing is practicing on grading. Every time you grade something in Discogs, I visually grade everything. And that forces you to get good at grading. Okay, so let's go through these. I'll go through them relatively quick. We already saw, White. Okay, that was King Tut. Steve Martin, actually, he plays, I think, the banjo, but he's a comedian, and he had a hit with that. So it's good for him. It's probably worth $1 or $2. Mandy by Barry Manilow. Now, White, Nancy White. So we're getting an idea that we got someone's collection, which is sort of cool too, because then you can get into the psychological analysis. I always said, if you show me someone's record collection, I can do a pretty good, I got a minor in psychology. I can do a pretty good psych analysis. Armchair psychologist, right? Mandy, mega hit. Great song. Supposedly was written about his dog, and it was Brandy, and changed it to Mandy. I don't know. But this is a great song. If it had a better B-side, I would say, yeah, let's throw it in the jukebox. If it had something like Copacabana or whatever. Okay? So Cap Records. Cap Records went to this, the early 70s, they went into this sort of color motif. And I'm just going to give you my armchair. I'm not going to look these up just yet. They got a little cartoon head of the guy there. And then, Columbia had that swirl. So Cap's trying to do the same thing, but incorporate the letter K in it. And what do I see? Sonny and Cher. And they're trying to be cool and modern. And the name of the song is A Cowboy's Work Is Never Done with Somebody. And it's a 45. Do we need to know that? I don't know, but they seem to think so. And these records did not come in this box, just to make that clear. I'm just showing you an example of what you dig, and then you get home and you either are happy or you're not. So now you get, this is just so marked up that you just can't even believe it. But you get that, I'm your spiritual breadman, Ashton, Gardner, and Dyke, recorded in England. Now, this is the Capitol label that you went to in the early 70s. So you got away from the yellow and gold, and now you're going to this red and gold. I believe they only stuck with this for a while. Does it have a date on it? But I'm learning stuff already just looking at this label. So I picked up some early Bob Seger with this label design, and they were pretty good records. So who knows? But will it play? I'm going to just rate it as a good plus. I bet you that record plays. Now, talk about fidelity. I've taken 45s that were in very good plus and played them. And I hear more coming off that 45 than I do like this. The other day I was playing Happy by Keith Richards. I heard more off of that 45 than I did from the record. I heard piano that I had never heard before. And I think the B-side helped me out. I think it was all down the line. But I heard on both sides stuff that I had never heard on CD. So 45s do, sometimes you get a different version of the song. What do we got here? The Fortunes. Once again, there's that capital label. Once again, it's all marked up. Now it's 29, so maybe the guy had some kind of weird numbering system. Maybe this guy's in a DJ in a club and it's dimly lit, so he's got to have these things marked up. By the Fortunes, right there. Okay, so I got 2 in a row of the same label. What do we got here? Jerry Lee Lewis. You know, poor guy, he married his cousin. She was only 13, and then what nowadays we would call that getting canceled. And by the way, you got some glitter on here. You're just pulling these things out of bins, and they get trashed. You know what I mean? That's number 112, by the way. Drinking Wine, Spodioti. You know, all we heard from Jerry Lee was Great Balls of Fire and Breathless, and what was the other one? He's getting another mega hit. Now, they said he was on track to be as big as Elvis, but then he went off and married his cousin. So that's Jerry Lee. What else? Sweet Seasons, Carole King. Pocket Money. From the motion picture Pocket Money. Sweet Seasons. Carole King music. So this is not off Tapestry. It's pretty beat up, so I'm going to give it a good at best. I bet you it plays. And once you get past the hiss, if a good cleaning, it might get up to good plus. But like I said, I grabbed the records, and I'm paying 14 cents a piece. So these are all placeholders. Carl Douglas. Now, you know him because of Kung Fu Fighting, right? But did you know about Baby Don't Let This Good Love Die? And that's pretty scuffed and scratched. This is what you get when you're I'll call it record detecting, because it's not metal detecting. You're just digging your hands into a pile of stuff that you don't even see. You pull it, throw it in your cart, and get the heck out of the way, and then you assess when you get home. Because at 14 cents a piece, you can afford to do that. Now, here's a great Stax label, right? You're Gonna Make Me Cry by the Staple Singers. And it's so marked up on this side, you can't even read it. It looks like Respect Yourself, which, you know, made, for this DJ, that was his shorthand saying, spin this thing, man. This is good. So he's creating his own graffiti on the record label that just he knows in his head that, you know, when he can't see and he sees this graffiti, he grabs it and plays it in a club and everybody's dancing, because that's a good record right there. But you know what? It is sort of like folk art, because now you got multiple colors, you got red, you got white, you got a numbering system, and you got Respect Yourself. So you're getting into like early graffiti folk art. So it's more than just the record itself. It's what it tells you about who owned it. And I think it's a missing element for a lot of collectors. Oh, you can go to your record shops, your record stores, and buy stuff in pristine. But it's sort of fun to figure out what the hell's going on with these. Band called Bullet. And I've got another copy of this. This is number 90 in this crazy guy's system, right? White Lies, Blue Eyes. So that might be sort of like, who knows? Maybe he's complaining about the record company. You know, these guys were getting ripped off all the time by these big labels. And this is on Big Tree Records. So there you go. Artist, I don't know a lot about them, but I know I've got another copy of this in my collection. You guys might find this interesting. I find it fascinating. Okay. Once again, the folk art, the graffiti continues. You got multiple colors. You got some. You got MD. You got 43. You got 71. You got 22. Stephen Stills Melanie. On Atlantic. So who knows? Who knows what kind of system he's got going here. All right. Now this is probably a different collector that got mixed in. by the name of Mike, by the way. And he's real neat. He just colors, he stays in the lines. So Jim Dandy's actually a great song. Black Oak, Arkansas. So they were sort of like a redneck, what would you call them? Like a redneck Leonard Skinner. But they had some hits. There you go. Red Hot Lovin' on the B-side by Black Oak, Arkansas. Going to Arkansas. Going to work the saw. There you go. A kid's record got mixed in there. You're going to see this. Some people collect this stuff. So if you want to go down into that rabbit hole, go ahead. I got too much. I don't have enough time. Okay, once again, this thing's covered with glitter. And why? No. Did it come out of a strip club? I don't think so. I think it just picks up a bunch of junk in those bins, and glitter is one of them. Do you know what I mean? By Lee Michael. Yeah. When I was 9, I made my first mixtape for a girl, and that was on it. That song just jumped off the air, out of the airwaves, out of your radio. You got the little T1 up there. That was made in Preston, Terre Haute, Indiana. A&M Records. That is, Herb Alpert's label, right? There's the trumpet. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Big label. And you see his stuff everywhere. But do you know what I mean? It sounds like a soul song. The way he sings it, and it's got a real good horn clip on it. But once again, we got this guy's got his own numbering system. He's got letters, he's got numbers, he's got highlighting. And that's telling him that this is the side he wants to play. Because he does the graffiti on the A side. And that seems to be the trend. Brenda Lee, it might have been another collection. Someone said that there was a biopic out on her. I would like to see it. She interests me. Her stuff is of course, very jazz-based. Now I'm getting two that are stuck together. That's not good. So we got something gooey on there. Can you see that? It's like literally like a drop of syrup. But I'm liking, if you guys know what this label means, that means the Rolling Stones, right? So, you can't always get what you want, right? Some people consider this one of the best Rolling Stones songs of all time. Jimmy Miller, produced by management by Nanker Fledge Music. I think that was Mick and Keith's songwriting. I don't know what that is. If it's like a syrup, I would probably just clean it with hot water. Now, will this play? Hell yes, it'll play. It's probably a good plus once you clean it up. So for a kid or just a beginning collector, hell yes, you want this in your collection. But this is a twofer. And this is really the owner, Graffiti Man, I'm going to call him. He's letting himself know this is the one you want to play. Honky Tonk Women. And right there. So that's the one that's all marked up. So that's his system. The more graffiti it has on the label, the more he's going to play it. All right, we're getting halfway through here. Hope I'm not boring you guys, but I love this stuff. It's like a time capsule. Okay, here's the other one it was stuck to. So that's got some syrup on it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, here's his system. A little bit less superstition. This could be Stevie Wonder's greatest hits. Now, I found this for 14 cents. Where the hell else are you going to get this song and own it on vinyl for 14 cents? Yes, it's a good plus. Yes, it's got a 6 on it. Yes, it's all highlighted. Yeah, but it's got a great patina, man. This record's been loved. B-side, I don't know off about that. B-side, I don't know off the top of my head. Bum, 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 bum. What a great riff, right? So right there, I got it. and I own it. And I'm going to clean it up. Probably got about 5 other copies of that. Okay, where are we at now? Don't give up on us, baby. Super sappy David Soul. Now, why do you know him? He's not a soul artist. His last name is Soul, but he was half of Starsky and Hutch. And they all, even Telly Savalas had a record out or two. William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy. They all think they can sing, right? This actually was not a bad song. This was like a 6th grade girlfriend song. And Black Bean Soup with a David Soul writing credit. There you go, 1976. I'm dating myself. What else is in our little time capsule here? Our platter pack. Well, Carly Simon, Anticipation. Now, she could do anything because she had You're So Vain. And so this was made into a ketchup commercial because the ketchup came out of the bottle real slow, and that was that. But it was all over the airwaves. When did this, 1971. It was annoying it got played so much. The Garden. And I think she had a decent voice, beautiful woman. I think she was married to James Taylor for a while. Okay, we're still in this guy's collection because I can just tell by the way he writes. I'd love you to want me, not to be confused with Cheap Tricks. I want you to want me. I think this is one, baby. I'd love you to want me. That one. Even Detroit Bob thinks he can sing. It was a hit. 1972. It'll play. Good plus. So if I buy them, I quote unquote, I make an oath to enter them. And these will be entered. You will go on Discogs, Detroit Bob, RockMine, look it up. I don't know how you he's got graffiti going on this one. So you will find a bunch of goods, but you also find a lot of near myths too. The Grassroots, Sooner or Later. This one's scratched up, marked up, numbered up. Since it's a black label, he actually scratched the number in there, 94. Figure that, man. Kind of crap that you find when you're metal detecting or record detecting. Jim Croce, Time in a Bottle. This will probably play. And if you clean it up, you might get it to a good plus. It's a good. If it plays, it's a good. The guy's name was probably White. Hard Time Losing Man. And from the album Don't Mess Around with Jim. You can pull on Superman's cape, but don't mess around with Jim. Okay, huge hit, mega hit. We got the whole graffiti thing going on there. That's number 55. That's Sunshine by Jonathan Edwards on Capricorn. These are very rarely a B-side because they're usually one-hit numbers. But there it is, Emma. Well, we're getting through here, aren't we? Apple label, man. Right there should get your heart going. And It Don't Come Easy by Ringo. Seems to me produced by George Harrison. There you go. That's why it sounds like George Harrison. Seems to me he plays on it too. And so it's interesting, even after the Beatles broke up, they were all releasing individual solo projects on Apple. So did they really break up? Or did they just record individually and put stuff up on Apple? Except for Paul. I think Paul went and did his own label right away. But I'm not sure. Early 1970. This one's produced by Ringo, also known as Ringo or Richard Starkey. There you go. Beatles movies coming out. I heard they're going to do 4 movies, one about each individual Beatle, if that makes sense. I don't know how that works. Do they intersect, and do they film all 4 movies at the same time using the same actors? But I heard it's supposed to be good. Simon Garfunkel, great song, but just way overplayed. This one's got tape. This one's got writing. This has got ringware. This is the classic Columbia label, same one that Bob Dylan was on. Eventually, I believe, got bought up by Sony. Keep the customer satisfied on the B side there. That's probably a good, maybe even a fair. Oh man, this one's marked up. Nothing to Hide by Tommy James. I just sold the Tommy James record yesterday, Dragging the Line. So there you go, man. That's probably his A side. His A sides have all the graffiti on it. That's that. Bad Company just made Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Probably their best song. I mean, that's sort of their signature song. I think I just got heard so much Bad Company growing up. It just really, I'm not a big fan of theirs. There's a couple songs, Rock Steady I love. They never play that one enough, but just way too much. Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water, 14 cents. Clean it. Start a collection for a 10-year-old kid. Say, hey, this is what classic rock 101 looks like. Talk about School of Rock. This might not play on the B-side, but here's the edited version of Smoke on the Water. So we all thought we could play this. I had a beat up 6-string, and I played it on 1 string. One Toke Over the Line. This was like your 70s inside joke hippie song that your parents you could probably play in front of your parents, and they really didn't know what they were talking about here, but I think we all know what they were talking about. So also I think pretty much a one-hit wonder. One Toke Over the Line. All right. I Love by Tom T. Hall. America's Storyteller, they call him. He wrote some good songs, man. This used to be on K-Tel Records. They had country hits of the 70s, and he talks about all the things he loves. And the song is only, I think it might even be less than 2 minutes long. Notice they don't put the length of the song on there. B-side, Back When We Were Young. This guy's all about nostalgia. I think he wrote some decent songs for other people. I think Harper Valley PTA, was that Tom T. Hall? Oh, Billy Preston, man. This is a great album, or a great record. I say album sometimes out of habit. It's marked up, but will it go round in circles? What a great idea. The Stones brought him in. The Beatles brought him in. Clapton brought him in. Everybody wanted Billy Preston on their record because he knew how to play, and he could sing too. It's just a great, great record, a great song with a great horn clip. Blackbird, there you go. It doesn't hurt on the B-side to do a version of a Lennon-McCartney song, although I would say that's 99% McCartney. Carpenters, And then A&M had sort of this puke green label. Man, they needed really to jazz it up. Them and Warner Brothers, it's that annoying 70s. You just see so many Carpenters records. Close to You, great song. I'll give them that. Okay, what do we got? Grassroots, there you go. The one that's marked up. The Runway. I'm not familiar with. Most of these I know if I hear them. So I used to listen to the oldies channel, and some of these contemporaneously. The Grassroots, Two Divided by Love, and once again on the black label, he just scratched it in there because he was not going to be forsaken. This is a cool label, and when you find one of these, you're probably looking at a Creedence. Who else was on this label when they had this design? So, have you ever seen The Rain? I saw John Fogerty a few years ago, and he plays a great song. I mean, the slow tempo stuff that they were able to pull off is great. Most of their stuff is a twofer. So, Hey Tonight, so that one jumps. This is a great twofer for a kid for 14 cents. Hell yeah. I would just say, hey, play these, and if you like them, I'll get you some more. And then once again, B.J. Thomas. I think B.J. Thomas. This has got some folk art on it. Number one. That one right there. That one's so, like I said, it's almost like graffiti art. Hummingbird by Seals and Cross. There's that puke green Warner Brother label that I was talking about. My gosh, someone in the art department should have just said something. Listen, look at the London and the Capitol Records, what they're doing with their label. We got to do like a swirl pattern. Even Motown on Soul went with that sort of swirl pattern. So this is another one that was on the radio every 30 seconds. A little clever little song. Very unique, but I don't know how well that would hold up. We're getting there. Now you get this oldies label, which is a Three Dog Night, and everybody knows this one, right? Celebrate, celebrate, dance to the music. These guys had a lot of hits. So probably Dunhill was bought up by ABC, and they started reissuing a lot of these things. So the reissue label was called Oldies 45. Celebrate, Bonner and Gordon. Now, I know Randy Newman wrote some of their stuff. I think Mama Told Me Not to Come and possibly Shangri-La, but I could be wrong. Eli's Coming, written by Laura Nero. Isn't she sort of an avant-garde jazz chick? Possibly R&B? I don't know. Gary Glitter, Rock and Roll Part 1. This is good plus to maybe even very good. And there's a second part. Which is the one that's famous? Is it both? So any kid knows this because this is played at every stadium. This is on all your jock rock compilations. There you go. So that's what you get most of the time when you buy a scrap heap full of 45s. You get a bunch of goods and good pluses. You're lucky to get a very good out of there. But, I've found Doors. I've found Rolling Stones. I've found Beatles. And let's go through the rest of them. Detroit Bob, we're almost through this platter pack. I wanted to review this one with you again. And he's 5 or 6. I got a little more disciplined and I did not buy a whole stack. I just picked out the 6 and left a bunch of 45s. But I did pretty good, and I'll tell you why I picked these 6, whereas I could have had another batch like we just went through. Go through those, or that one, which is my Triple F. Let's go through this. Move this off to the side for a second. And I've gone through this together with you, but I just find this is very interesting. First of all, this was still in the platter pack that I just showed you. But what is it? Well, it's got a Chicago Heights address, which is right outside of Chicago. Elizabeth Wilkerson. It's got a stamp. This was popular in the late 60s. It's got a WBEE, Fay, Wacker Drive. That's right downtown Chicago. Then it's got a return address, All State Record Distributors, 1450 South Michigan Avenue. Now that's Record Row. So this is a record label that has an address that is right down the street from Chess, I know is 2120. So this might be an internal mailing from the radio station to this Elizabeth Wilkerson. Who knows why? But this is the way I found it. And now it gets even more interesting because it looks to me like I have a birth sleeve. And these guys distributed by the Chess Checker Cadet Group. So this might be the distribution company for the Chess Checker Group, All-State Recording matches the address on this envelope. All-State Recording, 1450 South Michigan Avenue. So if Chess owns their own distribution company, that's probably just down the street, and it would be on the same side of the street, 1450 South Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. It's got the phone number on there. Sticker's right on the label. That would make sense. Chess Records, DJ copy, and it sounds to me like, here's the plug side, it sounds to me like it is a gospel record. So who knows? Maybe this is, we're taking it out of the sleeve. This thing is, I'm going to say very good plus. And the only reason, it's got some shelf wear. There's a little bit of a scratch right there. But Motherless Child. And I've talked about this record before. I think that might be a variation of an older blues gospel song. Didn't Clapton do a cover called Motherless Children? Help me out. But Ben Branch and the Operation, Breadbasket Orchestra and Choir, from the Chess LP, The Last Request. So this could have been Chess Records sending it out to a radio station or from a radio station and just passing it around to get it into the hands of the right person. It could be a DJ, it could be a preacher, it could be an artist. Someone wanted someone to listen to this song and gave them an early release. But I do believe that's what we call a birth sleeve. I don't think that ever really came out of that sleeve. And I think it got stuck in that platter pack for years until someone just threw it away. And it ended up at the Gary Goodwill until Detroit Bob found it. These are a little tricky to get them back sometimes. Isn't that cool? You can just feel like how that record's been in there the whole time. There's a little ridge right there. And I think that's another tell on the birth sleeve. It's not, this logo matches that logo. So there's a lot of things that tell you that this is contemporaneous. Because you get a lot of chess in the older style chess. It's like, it just says chess. Very simple. This is probably later 60s. And chess was also checkered in cadet. So don't forget that. So you're not just chess anymore. You're chess, checker, cadet. And I think Argo merged with one of those three by this point. But Argo, you find a lot of Ramsey, Lewis, and Argo. But I think it's really cool. It says sound recording, special fourth class. So they were doing like the medium mail rate, they call it now. So it's 6 cents to mail this. So that says for reviewing only. Don't play this on the air. I just want you to listen to it. So who knows? It's almost like some internal record store mailing. And I don't know how the mechanics worked on communication between the distributors and the DJs and who knows? It might be an early pressing. Well, maybe we made 500 of these. Take a listen to it. I think I listed this on eBay or on Discog, so you can look it up. It might be very valuable. All right, we might be getting down to the nitty gritty here. Drum roll, please, right? So this is the last 6 that I picked up last week, and I got my first triple F out of it. Now, let me tell you why I picked up this record. First of all, it had single color. What I mean by that, doesn't matter what color the label is, there's only one colored ink used on this. Okay? So Brian Records, an obscure label. Nobody here has ever heard of Brian Records. Okay, another thing, it's got the address pretty much printed out right there. It's got a date, 1974. Now, Bruce Lee's Return of the Dragon by the Nunchucks. nunchucks. First of all, there's a whole martial art community out there, and Bruce Lee is a cultural phenom. So right there, it might be some kind of crossover. It's a white label. It's not for sale. Yeah, it's got some writing on it. Everything about this just says this is obscure and it may be valuable. I'm not even condition. I'm going to give it a good plus at best. Once again, here's the B side and a mono. Like you really needed a mono. Who knows? Some of these, they wanted mono because they had mono equipment. And then the other side was stereo for stereo. Probably the same recording. Matter of fact, the time is 225. The time is 225. So they gave them both. But someone marked this one up. That's an arrow saying play this one. So I bought it. And I'll have to let you know how much it's worth. 14 cents. Through these last few. Now, these were in a lot. Not a lot. I picked up about 60 45s. They're all beat the hell condition-wise. But let me tell you why I got each one of those. Marvin Gaye. I pick up Tamla every time, 1967. It's obviously not one of its big hits. Whitfield and Strong. The B-side. Gonna keep on trying till I win your love. This one, single color, black on a red label. Top and bottom records, but Brendan and Tabulations, they're on a Northern Soul list, I believe. But Always and Forever, is this their big hit? I think I know the song, but I want to say someone else did it too. B-side, right on the tip of my tongue. So there you go. Van McCoy. Is that Van McCoy of The Hustle? I think it might be. Philadelphia on that label too. The Time, Guilty Pleasure, Ooh Baby. This was the big hit, the other side, Jungle Love. But Ooh Baby, I think was on their debut album, The Time. Produced by The Star. Is that true? The Star, wasn't The Star the man that went by a symbol only? I'm pretty sure it was Prince. Steel Town, Beat the Hell, written, cracked, but I needed to pick this up because that's the original Jackson 5 label. And this is spelled wrong. I looked that up. Delroy, it's supposed to be, not Delory. So there you go. Out of Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana is Steel Town, and that's where I go digging. Now, this is the big one, man. Single color. The name caught my eye. Because, like, if you're collecting Soul, you should look for the name Soul. This said Soul Records. Putting You Out of My Life. It's got a Philadelphia address. It got some names on there. Frankie Snowden, Anthony Dawson. Sounds like some soul guys, right? High Speed Records. Huh? Looks good. Psychedelic sort of threw me off, but it actually probably would put this one over the edge. Besides of the age of the label, it doesn't have the double bars. I say it was about 1969. I get home and look it up. It's a $2,000 record. There's the B-side. Donna, once again, by Psychedelic. And Psych O with the O caught me. Isn't that supposed to be an E? But that caught me too. So there you go. $2,000. It plays. It's beat the crap. It's probably good, fair to good condition. But, maybe it's still worth $300 to $500. I don't know. You tell me. Why wouldn't you buy that for 14 cents? Okay, so maybe it isn't a $1,000 record in this condition. But I have a $1,000 record in my hand. And if I can find this one, I can find one in better shape. So there you go. That's why I bought it. So that is that gem of the week from a couple episodes ago. Fleshed out in the flesh, bare naked and ugly. All the warts, right? Pimples, zits, everything. Right there. We got ring wear. No cracks, though. We got scratches. We got scuffs. But we also have a rare psychedelic Frankie soul record. So even DJ commented and said, hey, this is pretty good. Because he was mad at me because I called Apple, peaches, pumpkin pie, rare. All right, so there you go. Another episode in the can, all the way from Walmart to soul in the trash bins of the Goodwill. That's what we're talking about. And you got to be prepared to do that, you know. Roll up your sleeves and get in there and dig it out, because they're being thrown away every day. Detroit Bob, RockMine every Friday at noon. We'll see you next week.